Hello and welcome back. So today, we are painting Beetlejuice. I wanted to stay really loose with this painting this time around, not go too deep into details and lose the feeling that I wanted. I started with the usual loose sketch just to get the proportions down and everything right. Then I added some real quick colors here. And then I take a look without the lines, coming up right here, I believe, just to see if it's looking how I want it to look right now. And I think I like it, so I keep moving ahead. I start adding some very loose paint layers over the top, and just make sure to stay pretty far zoomed out, so not to lose that real loose feeling, and I don't want to get dragged down into the detail. I want to stay super loose on the painting, which by the end I don't stay quite as loose as I had hoped from the start. But, that's it. We pull back here and we see where lines are needed and start working layer by layer slowly. When I get to the point where I think the paint is starting to look pretty decent, I decide to take out the lines, which is coming up in just a few minutes. Let me just give you some silence while I do that. So I continued adding in some really loose lines, loose colors. I'm still enjoying how the painting looks at this point. I don't quite have the exact likeness down, but I think I'm close enough that it looks good. I like it. It gets across, like I said, the feeling of the painting more than the extreme details of like a fully fleshed out photorealistic painting, which is not what I wanted here. I wanted it really loose. How many times can I say loose in this one video, you might ask? Let's go back and do a count.
Looks like 12 so far.
And it's around here where I took out the sketch layer entirely because I knew I was going to start adding really dark and really light tones. So the sketch layer wasn't really necessary anymore, and I'd gotten enough paint in there that it was going to be all right without having that sketch layer to look at the entire way through. So I just continue to add more and more details. Darken in that painting behind him, make sure to crisp up the edges around him, the character, his hair, add in the colors that I need. What I did there is I added in a full black layer for the painting, and then I selected that layer and painted into it with the colors of the actual painting itself, so that I wouldn't, again, be moving back and forth into his head and have to cut things and redo things. So I just worked from that one layer onto the next. The painting I'm talking about there is the painting behind Beetlejuice's head in the painting. I don't think that was clear. Here I did start falling into the trap of adding a little too much detail in some spots, so I think I pulled that back. But some places do need some detail and some heavy highlights, just to get the point across to certain spots, like the edge of his face, the top of his eyes, his eyebrows, things like that. Needed a bit more detail and just a bit more time, but still trying to keep it as loose as possible. And I think it was around here where I noticed that the painting itself just needed to be a lot darker overall. So instead of going back in and painting the entire thing again from the beginning, I decided to go in with a much darker shadow layer over the entire painting. And then I'm going to carve the highlights out of that and keep all of the extremely dark portions nice and dark. This will be like doing a glaze layer in a traditional painting. I think it's a glaze layer is what it's called. And here again, going in, just making sure to keep everything really loose, add in those numbers, flip them over, flip them backwards, drop the opacity, make them fit. And around here, I thought I was finished, and then I realized that I entirely missed that ring on his hand, so I went in and painted that in. And then I went back to look at the sketch again, because it's a good idea to look at your sketch. And remembered, oh yeah, those numbers down in the corner. So at that point, I went and I looked up the reference for those two panels, which is the rollover numbers at the end of the film, the counter, while he's in the waiting room. So I sketched both of those in and tried to keep them as loose as possible, and that pretty much finished up the whole painting. I personally really like how it came out. Please let me know in the comments, what did you think? Would you like to see more like this? Like, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon for more. Dun 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 dun. Quack.
Entertainment. Let me entertain you.